Every great invention, every movement that changed the course of history, every leap forward in human progress began the same way as a thought. Now, think about that for a second. Before there was the light bulb, there was an idea flickering in Edison's mind. Before there was flight, there was a dream in the mind of the Wright brothers. Before there was a mission to the moon, there was Kennedy saying, "We choose to go." All of it, every single thing we've ever built, solved, or overcome started up here, because the mind is the workshop where purpose takes form. Every great achievement begins as a thought. It's easy to look at the world around us, the skyscrapers, the technologies, the art, the movements that changed nations, and see only the finished product. But behind every creation lies an invisible starting point, an idea that first existed only in the mind. The human mind is the origin of every innovation, every act of courage, every leap forward. Before anything takes form in the physical world, it must first take shape in the imagination. When we say that every great achievement begins as a thought, we are acknowledging the most powerful truth about human potential, that imagination precedes reality. Thomas Edison did not stumble upon the light bulb by accident. He imagined it long before he held it in his hands. The Wright brothers envisioned flight before their feet ever left the ground. Even great social movements, from civil rights to women's suffrage, started as ideas in the minds of people who dared to think differently. They saw a world that did not yet exist and decided to work toward it. That initial thought, that inner vision, became the blueprint for action. Thought is not a passive state. It is the creative force that drives transformation. What we think determines what we pursue, and what we pursue determines what we achieve. The mind acts as both the seed and the soil. A single idea, when nurtured with belief and persistence, can grow into something that influences millions. But just like any seed, an idea can only flourish if the environment is right. If the mind is filled with doubt, fear, or negativity, even the most brilliant idea can wither before it has the chance to take root. On the other hand, a mind open to curiosity and possibility becomes a fertile ground where creativity thrives. Many people underestimate the power of a single thought because it feels intangible. You can't hold a thought in your hand or see it with your eyes, but that doesn't mean it isn't real. In fact, thoughts are the most powerful currency of change. They are the first step in every process of creation. The difference between those who achieve greatness and those who don't often lies in what they allow themselves to think is possible. Great thinkers, inventors, and leaders don't just accept the world as it is. They question it. They imagine what could be, and that act of imagination becomes the spark that ignites progress. It's important to recognize that thoughts alone don't create results. Action is essential, but thought is what gives action direction. Without thought, action is random. Without imagination, effort has no aim. The mind provides the blueprint, the vision of what could be, and from that vision, strategy, motivation, and execution follow. This is why every major human achievement, from the smallest personal success to the largest societal transformation, begins in the same place, inside someone's mind. The moment you realize that your thoughts have the power to shape your reality, you begin to understand the true potential of your mind. It means that every goal you wish to achieve, every challenge you hope to overcome, begins with a shift in thinking. You have to be able to see it before you can create it. When you think purposefully, when you consciously direct your thoughts toward what you want to build or become, you start a process that leads to tangible outcomes. So when we say that every great achievement begins as a thought, it's not just a poetic phrase. It's a statement of fact, one that has been proven throughout human history. Everything we admire, everything we rely on, everything that improves our lives began as an idea in someone's mind. The question then is not whether thoughts can change the world. They always have. The real question is, what thoughts are you nurturing in your own mind today? Because the future in all its forms begins there. Purpose is the spark. The mind is the workshop. This idea captures the essential relationship between inspiration and creation, between why we act and how we bring that action into reality. Purpose alone is not enough. It's the motivation that ignites the journey. But it's the mind that shapes and directs the energy of that purpose into something meaningful. The mind is where clarity is built, where purpose is given structure, and where intentions become tangible results. Without the mind to guide it, purpose remains a feeling, powerful but undefined. It is through thought, reflection, and imagination that purpose takes on real form and leads to change. Purpose is that deep inner reason that drives us. It's the why behind everything we do. It gives our lives direction and meaning, but by itself, it's abstract, like a spark waiting for fuel. The mind provides that fuel. It translates purpose into vision and vision into plans. When someone feels called to make a difference, that calling begins as a sense of purpose. Yet to turn that purpose into something real, The person must engage their mind to think, to create, to organize, and to act. This process is where purpose becomes powerful. The mind acts as a workshop where ideas are hammered into shape, refined, and tested. Think of purpose as a guiding star. It shows us where we want to go, but doesn't tell us how to get there. The mind is the navigator that plots the course, anticipates the challenges, and builds the vessel to reach the destination. Without the mind's capacity to reason, to imagine, and to solve problems, even the strongest purpose can remain dormant. Purpose without thought is passion without direction. It feels good, but doesn't lead to progress. On the other hand, when the mind and purpose work together, they form a powerful partnership. Purpose provides energy. The mind provides structure. Purpose fuels resilience. The mind provides clarity. Throughout history, the individuals who have changed the world understood this balance. Martin Luther King Jr. was driven by a profound purpose, equality and justice, but it was his mind that shaped that purpose into words, strategy, and leadership that inspired millions. Steve Jobs was fueled by the purpose of blending technology with artistry, but it was his mental discipline and creative vision that turned that purpose into products that transformed industries. These examples remind us that purpose without a clear, directed mind is just potential energy, full of promise but not yet realized. The mind gives purpose its form through focus. When we engage our thoughts intentionally, we begin to craft pathways for our purpose to express itself. We start asking questions like, how can I make this vision real? What steps must I take? What obstacles might I face? These questions transform emotion into action. The mind becomes a design studio where purpose is shaped into plans, where vague desires are molded into concrete goals. This process doesn't happen instantly. It takes patience and discipline. Just as a craftsman returns to their workshop daily to perfect their creation, we must return to our thoughts, refining our vision and aligning our actions with our purpose. What's remarkable is that every person has access to this workshop. It's not a gift reserved for the extraordinary. Every one of us has a mind capable of transforming purpose into creation. The difference lies in how we use it. If we allow distractions, doubts, or negativity to cloud our thoughts, our purpose struggles to find its form. But if we cultivate focus, creativity, and belief, our minds become places where purpose thrives, where ideas gain structure and direction. In the end, purpose gives us the reason to act. But the mind gives us the means to make that action count. The spark of purpose ignites the fire, but it's the mind that keeps it burning, shaping it into something that lights the way forward. To live with purpose is powerful. To think with purpose is transformational. When the mind becomes a workshop for purpose, it turns inspiration into innovation, hope into reality, and intention into lasting impact. Mindset is architecture. This means that the thoughts we hold, the beliefs we nurture, and the attitudes we choose to carry are the blueprints for the lives we build. Just as an architect's plans determine the structure, strength, and beauty of a building, our mindset determines the quality and direction of our lives. Every choice, every action, and every result begins in the mind. The difference between people who build bridges and those who build walls lies in how they think. The structures of our experiences, whether open and expansive or closed and confining, are shaped by the architecture of our mindset. Our thoughts are not random. They are the foundations upon which our reality stands. When we fill our minds with doubt, fear, and cynicism, we create mental walls that limit what we believe is possible. These walls keep us contained, safe perhaps, but stuck. They prevent us from exploring new ideas, taking risks, or reaching beyond what feels comfortable. In contrast, when we cultivate a mindset of curiosity, optimism, and belief, we build bridges, connections to new opportunities, new relationships, and new ways of seeing the world. This is why two people can face the same challenge and experience completely different outcomes. One sees a dead end, the other sees a doorway. The difference is not in the challenge itself, but in the mindset with which they approach it. The architecture of mindset is built over time. It doesn't happen in a single moment of inspiration. Every experience, success, and failure adds another layer to the structure. Our thoughts become habits. Our habits become patterns, and our patterns form the framework of how we view the world. If that framework is built on negative self-beliefs or fear of failure, it can collapse under pressure. But if it's built on confidence, growth, and resilience, it becomes strong enough to withstand difficulty and change. This is why it's crucial to be intentional about the thoughts we allow to take residence in our minds. We are all architects, whether we realize it or not, and the quality of our inner construction determines the quality of our outer life. Changing a mindset is much like remodeling an old building. It takes effort, time, and a willingness to tear down outdated structures. Some of the beliefs we hold may have protected us at one point, but now hold us back. Letting go of them requires courage. It requires us to question long-standing assumptions and to design something new in their place. The process can be uncomfortable, but the reward is freedom, the ability to see beyond limits we once accepted as truth. When we redesign our mindset, we open ourselves to possibility. We stop reacting to life and start shaping it. What's powerful about this idea is that mindset is always within our control. We cannot control every circumstance, but we can control how we think about it. That choice determines whether adversity becomes a lesson or a setback, whether a challenge becomes an opportunity or an excuse. People who consistently grow and succeed understand that their mindset is their most valuable asset. They invest in it. They feed it with learning, reflection, and gratitude. They understand that every day is a chance to add a new piece to their mental architecture, one that supports strength, creativity, and compassion. In the end, mindset is the invisible design behind every visible result. When you choose to build with courage instead of fear, with vision instead of doubt, you create a structure that can hold your dreams. The beauty of this architecture is that it's never finished. You can always renovate, expand, and improve it. Life will always bring storms, but a strong mindset provides shelter and resilience. So the question becomes, what are you building in your mind today? Walls that confine you or bridges that carry you forward? The answer will shape not only your future, but the world you create within it. You don't need all the answers to start building. This truth is one of the most liberating and empowering ideas we can embrace. Too often, people wait to begin until everything feels certain, until every question has been answered and every doubt resolved. But progress never comes from certainty, it comes from movement. Every great creator, innovator, and leader began with uncertainty. They didn't know every step or predict every challenge, but they started anyway. What they understood, consciously or not, is that clarity comes from action. You find direction by walking, not by waiting. Many people fall into the trap of perfectionism, believing they must have a complete plan before they can begin. But that mindset kills more dreams than failure ever could. The truth is, there is no perfect moment to start. And there is no such thing as a flawless beginning. The process of building anything meaningful, a career, a relationship, a purpose, is filled with discovery. You learn as you go, you make mistakes, adjust, and grow. Waiting until you have all the answers is like waiting for the weather to be perfect before setting sail. The seas will always be uncertain, but you can only reach new shores by leaving the harbor. When we start without knowing everything, we invite growth. Every step forward teaches us something new about our strengths, our limits, and the possibilities we couldn't have seen before. Action reveals what thought alone cannot. A painter learns through brushstrokes, a writer through words on the page, an entrepreneur through trial and error. It is through doing that we discover the details we could never plan for in advance. The mind can imagine many outcomes, but only experience can shape wisdom. That's why those who dare to begin, even imperfectly, often surpass those who wait for the perfect plan. Fear of the unknown is natural. The mind craves control and certainty. But growth lives in uncertainty. The moment we accept that not knowing is part of the process, we free ourselves to experiment and explore. When we step forward without all the answers, we engage the creative power of the mind in its most active form. The mind becomes a problem solver, a builder, a learner. It begins to connect ideas, adapt to challenges, and construct new paths. Each mistake becomes a piece of data, each setback a teacher. This mindset transforms failure from something to fear into something to learn from. Consider the people who have shaped history through their willingness to begin. The Wright brothers didn't have a detailed manual on flight. They had a dream and a rough understanding of aerodynamics. Their early prototypes failed repeatedly, but with every failure, they learned what not to do, and that knowledge led to success. The same pattern exists in every field. Innovators, leaders, and creators move forward with incomplete information, fueled not by certainty but by curiosity and conviction. They trust that progress will illuminate the next step. The irony is that many of the answers we seek only appear once we begin. Starting gives us feedback, and feedback gives us direction. The act of doing clarifies what works and what doesn't. It refines purpose and strengthens resolve. By contrast, standing still keeps us trapped in endless cycles of thinking and doubting. Motion, even uncertain motion, generates momentum, and momentum is the lifeblood of creation. Ultimately, you don't need to see the whole staircase to take the first step. The courage to start is more valuable than the illusion of knowing everything. Every masterpiece began as an experiment. Every great journey started with uncertainty. The path becomes clearer only after we commit to it. When we accept that we will never have all the answers and choose to begin anyway, we align with the rhythm of creation itself. The mind thrives on movement, and purpose takes shape through action. To build something meaningful, we must dare to start before we're ready, because readiness isn't a state of knowledge, it's a state of faith. Great leaders spend time in their mental workshop. They understand that leadership does not begin with authority or position, it begins with thought. Before they act, they reflect. Before they speak, they envision. They invest time in their minds because they know that clarity of vision is what inspires others to follow. The greatest leaders in history were not simply people of action. They were people of imagination, foresight, and deep purpose. They could see a world that didn't yet exist and describe it so vividly that others could believe in it too. Leadership at its core is the ability to translate vision into reality. But vision doesn't appear by chance. It is crafted in the mind's workshop through reflection, curiosity, and an unshakable sense of purpose. A leader who doesn't take time to think is like a builder without a blueprint. Their actions may be energetic but directionless. Great leaders know that their most important work happens long before the first decision is made. They spend time exploring possibilities, asking why, imagining what if, and designing how. They understand that thought precedes creation and that their internal clarity becomes the compass for their team's collective journey. When a leader's vision is clear, it becomes contagious. People don't follow leaders because they are told to. They follow because they feel inspired. And inspiration begins with a thought that has been carefully shaped and nurtured. Think of leaders like Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, or Martin Luther King Jr. Each of them spent years in deep thought, reflection, and internal struggle before their ideas took form in the world. Their power came not just from their words, but from the depth and conviction of the thoughts behind those words. They built their vision in the quiet space of their minds before expressing it on the world stage. In the modern world, it's easy to confuse activity with progress. Many people are constantly busy, moving, responding, managing, but very few are truly thinking. Great leaders make time for solitude, for silence, and for reflection because they know that thinking is not a luxury, it's a necessity. It's in that mental workshop that ideas mature and solutions emerge. Leadership requires perspective, and perspective can only be gained by stepping back. When a leader allows their mind to rest and reflect, they are able to see patterns, anticipate challenges, and envision long-term possibilities that others might miss. This practice of mental craftsmanship also builds resilience. When challenges arise, a leader who has spent time shaping their thoughts doesn't react impulsively, they respond with insight. They have already explored the what-ifs in their minds. They have rehearsed adversity and imagined outcomes. This mental preparation allows them to remain calm when others panic and decisive when others hesitate. It gives them the strength to lead with conviction even when the path ahead is uncertain. The mind, when trained to think deeply and creatively, becomes a leader's greatest ally. Moreover, great leaders don't just think about what they want to achieve. They think about the people they serve. They visualize how their decisions will impact others and how their purpose can inspire those around them. Their mental workshop isn't a place of ego, it's a place of empathy. They use their imagination not only to build strategies, but also to understand hearts. This is what separates those who manage from those who lead. Management deals with processes, leadership begins with vision, and vision begins in the mind. The leaders who shape the world are those who take the time to build their inner world first. They don't rush to act without understanding. They pause, think, and design the future in their minds before they attempt to create it in reality. In doing so, they give others something to believe in, not just a plan, but a purpose. The mind for them is not a quiet place of thought alone, it's a workshop of possibility. It's where the future is sketched, refined, and eventually brought to life. And when others see that vision clearly reflected in their leaders' words and actions, they are moved to join in building it too. The mind is where transformation begins. Every change we wish to see in our lives, our relationships, or the world around us starts with a shift in thought. Before any action is taken, before any dream becomes real, something must first change within the mind. Transformation does not start with circumstance, it starts with consciousness. It begins the moment we decide to think differently, to see possibilities where we once saw limits, and to believe in what could be instead of what merely is. The mind is not only a place of reflection, it is the engine of creation. Every breakthrough, whether personal or collective, begins as an internal awakening. When someone decides to change their habits, improve their life, or chase a new goal, that decision happens first in thought. The moment they imagine a better version of themselves, the transformation has already begun. What follows is the gradual process of bringing that mental image into reality through consistent effort. The outer world is simply a reflection of the inner one. If the mind remains trapped in fear, resentment, or disbelief, no external progress can endure. But when the mind is filled with belief, purpose, and clarity, even the most difficult circumstances can be transformed into opportunities for growth. Many people spend their lives trying to change things outside of themselves, their environment, their relationships, their circumstances. without realizing that real change must start within. The world mirrors the state of our minds. When our thoughts are scattered, life feels chaotic. When our thinking becomes clear and focused, life begins to align with that clarity. This is not a matter of wishful thinking, but of perception. The mind shapes how we interpret and respond to reality. Two people can face the same situation and experience it in completely different ways simply because of how their minds are trained to see it. Transformation, then, is less about changing what we face and more about changing how we face it. The mind's power to transform lies in its ability to imagine. Every invention, every act of courage, and every story of resilience began with imagination, the ability to see beyond the current state of things. When we imagine something better, we create a mental blueprint for it. Over time, that blueprint guides our actions, choices, and attitudes. The more vividly we can see the transformation in our minds, the more likely we are to achieve it in the real world. This is why visualization and intentional thinking are so powerful. They activate the mind's creative capacity and align our energy with our goals. But transformation is rarely easy. The mind often resists change because it clings to what is familiar. Even when the familiar is uncomfortable, it feels safe. To truly transform, we must confront the thoughts that limit us, the doubts, fears, and stories we tell ourselves about what's possible. This process can be uncomfortable, but it is necessary. The mind, like any workshop, must sometimes be cleared of old tools and broken pieces before new structures can be built. Letting go of limiting beliefs is the mental equivalent of tearing down walls to let in more light. It is only when we release outdated patterns of thinking that transformation has space to unfold. Transformation also requires consistency. A single thought can spark change, but sustained transformation happens through repeated mental effort. Each time we choose a new way of thinking, we strengthen new pathways in the brain. Over time, those new thoughts become habits, and those habits shape a new reality. This is how people reinvent themselves, not through sudden miracles, but through the steady work of reshaping their thoughts day by day. In the end, the mind is the birthplace of every transformation because it is where belief lives. When we believe we can grow, heal, or succeed, we activate the process of change. The external world simply follows the direction the mind sets. Transformation is not something that happens to us, it is something that begins within us. The moment we decide to think differently, we begin to live differently. The mind, when aligned with purpose and conviction, becomes the most powerful workshop of all, the place where transformation takes form and where new realities are born.